Make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Roar. Roar.
Colonel Ironside's here. 200 years I stood in the gap, fighting those who would harm my country. It was my honor, my sacred duty, so help me God. 9 times they took my life. 9 times I stood back up and made them pay. The freedom fighter I could handle anything, but someone betrayed me. I was ambushed, made mortal, rendered powerless, and retired. They passed an amendment that made me a civilian before I left the hospital. For 50 years, I watched my country change. Lost its work while erasing me from history. The day I quit my job, I powered up and discovered they lied about that too. I'll remind them of freedom. I'll remind them of duty. I'll remind them of their oaths and who they serve. I'll remind them while I'm shoving it down their throats.
Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it the gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet? Has to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what cost others. As for me, give me liberty, or give me death.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, everybody. This is Scoop from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Welcome to the show. Sorry, I had a little delay there. You StreamYard just trying to play my intro again. But anyway, so basically, the reason why the delay was because I forgot to upload my opening crawl. Had it made, had it sitting there, and then I realized that, holy crap, I didn't have it uploaded. So I had to upload it while the commercials were going on. That's why I played 2 back to back. I'm an idiot. Anyway. Anybody knows that. Anyway, looks like nobody wanted to be associated with me today. No big deal. I figured the topic might be a little controversial because it's it's considered a conspiracy theory, even though it's been proven several times over. But basically, talking about Mockingbird is just a term for a program that was started by the CIA during the Kennedy, officially started by the CIA during the Kennedy administration. But it actually has its roots way, way back. Okay. One of the earlier times that politics and the press really integrated themselves, and was there was an actual war that was started by a paper. It's called the Spanish-American War. Okay. And what happened was we had a ship in the harbor at Spain, and it just it blew up. Okay. And there was all sorts of rumors that were floating around, and basically the paper picked it up and ran with it, and suddenly we're in a war with Spain, and Spain's kind of like, what, why are we at war, and it was all fault basically and it's all basically fault in Cuba, and a lot of people think that's why it was started, so America could have control Cuba. And this is before Castro and all that other stuff came in. But anyway, the official Mockingbird thing started during the Kennedy. But all along, there's been this integration of the media, and we're talking all media. We're talking pop culture media, as well as press media. And at one point, they really became interchangeable. And suddenly, there's been times where Hollywood has diverged from media, from the intelligence state, and then there's times where they're so interlocked that there's really no differentiation. And a lot of times, it's like World War II. It's if you want to give an example, World War II is essentially how many war movies were there? Leading up to World War II, and then how many were lauding World War II's accomplishments after, and basically we've been in some kind of war somewhere, some kind of conflict somewhere, almost uniformly ever since. Okay, and there's been some blips on the radar, when one of them is McCarthy. Oh my God, boo, hiss, McCarthy, right? And there's another list that the blacklist was actually different from McCarthy. It was started almost parallel to McCarthy, and but it was a Hollywood version of it. There was a group in Hollywood that decided that they need to push back against the communists that were in flux coming in during the basically coming in on the labor into labor unions. They were taking over labor unions, and they were coming in that way. And a lot of the people that were writing stuff were part of it. And that's why the blacklist was started. Okay. Now, everything, McCarthy's been vilified. The blacklist has been vilified ever since, all throughout media and all this sort of stuff. Except they were right. Okay. They were right. And some people even put the press back all the way to Lincoln, vilifying the Confederacy and everything like that. Because, the Confederacy gets uniformly painted like the Nazis, basically, Nazi party. But the Confederacy actually was a states' rights issue. And this is not controversial in a lot of circles. Okay. But the Confederacy is basically a states' rights issue, but it's been painted ever since in the media as being all about one issue, which was the slavery. Okay. Which is ironic because the slave owners were all Democrat. Everybody started the Confederacy were Democrats. And the Democrats had control of the South all during Jim Crow, all during all the stuff that gets vilified now. And then, but then when you see who controls the media, it's the Democrats. And so they're like, yo, boy, these people are bad. Boo hiss. These people were really awful. But then they're talking about themselves. KKK was Democrats. I mean, this is proof. I mean, this is history. And then when you say, it's all been through media, all, through our pop culture and in our music. Okay. In our music, interestingly enough, check out the dates on all the anti-war anthems and all the anti-war activity during, Vietnam is horrible. Vietnam is horrible. Okay. Well, there were some Democrat presidencies during the course of Vietnam. Check out when the biggest protests were. Check out when the biggest agitation was. Check out when all these Hollywood stars were like, we got to get out of Vietnam. It's awful. Oh my gosh, it's evil. We need to get out of it. All we're saying is give peace a chance, And yet, check out the times, and you'll find it was only during Republican administrations that they were agitating. They've been in lockstep all along, folks. Okay. I mean, look at what's happened in the last 4 years. Look how everybody's had a dissenting opinion, and all these stars are lined up to decry them. Okay. Oh my God, it's awful. Oh my God, during the Trump administration, everything was awful. Everything needed to be protested. Oh my gosh, we're burning cities to the ground. Okay. Then the last 4 years, crickets. Okay. And then, all this, it's like, so they only agitate, they only freak out, they only, have this breathlessness, about what we need to be doing. It only happens during certain administrations, and it doesn't happen in others. Okay. All these people that are pro democracy. Okay. Where were they during the Clinton administration when Ruby Ridge happened and Waco happened? Are there any protest songs about Waco? Anybody know any? A group of people. Yeah, there's stuff happening in the Branch Davidian, according to outside sources, not according to them. The people are actually there, but, according to outside sources, there's some bad stuff going on. Okay. And yet, on American soil, a group of people were overrun and burned to the ground by ATF and FBI on our soil. And that happened during the Clinton administration. And yet, I watched the movie, and Bill Clinton wasn't in it. And Janet Reno, who was behind, or who basically made all the orders, was portrayed as being sympathetic, empathetic. That woman's never been empathetic to anybody in her entire life, or all in her entire existence, and yet that's how she was portrayed. Okay, and it's just like it's all in our media. I grew up, in hindsight, I grew up. The Carter administration brought in the Department of Education round about the time I was coming into school. And I didn't see the change happen, but I'm told by earlier generations that, things like the Pledge of Allegiance was taken out of schools while I was there. Yes, the prayer out of, the mandated prayer was taken out, and things like that. And that was all Department of Education that was put in by Carter. And oh, by the way, Carter pretty much food barred the whole entire economy, and he was considered by a lot of people the worst president before the guy who's currently in office about to leave. And he left it in such a state, pretty much the same way that, and a lot of it was by executive fiat. A lot of it's the same patterns, same things like that, and yet, it's just like, so where we are now, where are we now? This last election, okay, it's been coming on for a while. Okay, especially when the environmental social governance came in, ESG. The tail end of Obama administration, there was a tag onto another bill, which is how they get it in. Okay, it's called pork. Okay, it's things that are tagged onto other bills. And okay, I can't remember the exact bill it was. I should have looked it up. Sorry, guys. But there was a bill that got passed, and in a tag in a subcategory somewhere was something called environmental social governance. Okay, and what that is basically a slush fund that basically funded social change. Okay, which meant basically there was a funding source separate from the customer, separate from the fan, separate from the consumer. That basically allowed like all these pop culture, mainstream producers could no longer had to worry about, being bipartisan or being neutral. They no longer had to worry about that. And they've always been lefty. They've always been commie. They've always, they're mostly in California and New York, which are deep, deep blue. Or at least they used to be. This last election was interesting. I'll just say that. But so all these people, all these actors and everybody that comes up, everybody creative because of the way the conservatives have treated creatives. And they've been warned about this, and they're still screwing this up. But because of that, creatives, because of their emotionality and because of their, because of the indoctrination, all pretty much come in being liberal as they come. Okay. And so most of them are politically left, not only left, but far left. Okay. But because before ESG came in, they had to at least pretend to be neutral. They had to pretend to not talk about politics, to be as bipartisan as possible, because the bipartisan in the middle is the biggest customer base. And the moment that you take a stand politically, you alienate the other side of the country. Well, ESG allowed them to believe that they could alienate that other side of the country. because they had this other funding source to take place of that side of the country. Okay. So essentially what it allowed them to be as partisan as they wanted to be, the partisan as they really always were, but they had to pretend not to be. Okay. And the gloves came off, the mask dropped, and everything shifted. Everything shifted. Okay. And there's a change agent that came in around this time, and it was it was as in response to the Obama administration, where it started, where the press got, basically there's a change made to where the press can no longer be sued for defamation, or at least to sue the press. It made it harder to sue them for defamation. And this happened during the Obama administration. Everything seems to have happened in those 8 years. And so essentially the press could just smear the crap out of whoever they wanted to. And yet when they took it to the courts, it would be harder to prove defamation. And so the press just went crazy, went hog wild, especially during the Obama administration, because Obama was their boy. He was their boy. They loved Obama. I mean, one of my favorite videos is of a Lincoln Center award, basically Lincoln Center honors, Led Zeppelin, and there's a version of Stairway to Heaven that is just absolutely incredible. It's by Heart. The queens of rock and roll, honoring Led Zeppelin by doing, Stairway to Heaven. And on the drums was Jason Bonham, and it was just awesome. Awesome version. If you've never seen it, awesome version. But all throughout that particular video, they got to show the Obamas. Like every other frame, it's like the Obamas. They got to show the Obamas right there. And that video, I've been tempted to go back and do leave the Obama, leave a cutout, just cut out the Obamas. But if I did that, it would be like half the song gone. But anyway, so that's how, I mean, they were their boy. I mean, Obama was their boy, and Michelle was on all magazine covers and everything like that. All media just embraced them. Okay, all mainstream media embraced them, and it started smearing anybody that had something negative to say, and started attacking anybody that dared. And they started attacking George W. George W. Was one of the worst treatments of a president I've seen up to recent. Okay. But then Obama was like, whoa, way over the other side. Way on the other side. I mean, he got press coverage, positive press coverage. I mean, uniformly across the board. Printed media, from printed media all the way. I mean, Michelle Obama was on so many covers. Okay. And then what happened? People started saying, well, there's something wrong with this presidency. It's just there's kids being like drone striked, and there's that healthcare thing. It's just a disaster. And but they were telling you, shut up. He's the best president we've ever had. Shut up. And then, but there's some part in everybody's brain that was going off kind of like, but is he though? Is he though? And so they were sitting here, they were going like, yeah, no. But they were told to shut up, and but when it came to the ballot box and they were told, okay, well, Hillary's coming in, it's her turn, because you loved Obama, because you need to vote for Hillary. And then they'd look at this crazy batshit evil woman and they're like, I'm not voting for that. But they couldn't say it out loud because the press was like, shut up. You know, this is Obama's fourth term. You know, this is Obama's third term. You need to vote for her. It's her turn. Okay. And then there's like, wait a second, didn't she destabilize the whole entire Middle East by, you know, assassinating Gaddafi? Nope, shut up, vote for her. She's a woman. Vote for her. It's her turn. You know, vote for her. And so the voting public quietly went to the voting box and voted for the crazy orange guy, the realities TV star. They voted for, you know, the businessman from New York, the interloper, and the only guy that called it was, believe it or not, gosh, I forgot his name. The fat guy that did all those slanted documentaries. What was his name? One second. Nobody's here in the chat to tell me. Just give me a second. Let me find it. But he actually, for the first time in his life, he actually called something right. He did Bowling for Columbine, Fahrenheit 451. One second. Sorry, guys, I'm alone here. Okay, here it is. Michael Moore. I hate the guy so bad that it just blanked. But he said that before the election, he said that Donald Trump is going to be the biggest FU American people have ever had to the establishment. And they're going to throw him at Washington like a grenade. And he called it. That's what happened. But what happened was the media suddenly were like, wait a second. What happened? We slanted everything Hillary Clinton's way. We told everybody to vote for her. Every celebrity came out of the woodwork and I'm with her. Okay. And everybody that had a dissenting opinion, you know, Donald Trump has been in entertainment for decades. He's friends with everybody. You know, he went to every party. You know, he was a Studio 54. I mean, the guy, he's been a part of Hollywood. He's been a part of the music establishment. He's been a part of everything. And yet when his inauguration came around, he couldn't find anybody to perform at it. And everybody that did perform at it got destroyed. And so, I mean, this is a guy that knew everybody. And there's pictures of him with everybody that are now hating his guts foaming at the mouth. And yet he couldn't find anybody to do his inauguration. And then you had during the day of it, you had, I've got it somewhere. Here it is. You had this. Okay. So you had that reaction, that unhinged, crazy reaction. And you had a lot of stars that were like just losing their crap, okay? And then suddenly the ESG came in, and so Hollywood had decided that, well, you know, because you voted the wrong way, we're going to utterly, completely destroy everything you love. And we can do that because we have a set of funding source. And well, there's people out there that voted for her like they're supposed to, and that's who we're going to cater to. We're going to cater exclusively to them. You know, F you, go away. And so They did this for the whole presidency of Donald Trump. And then all that stuff happened, and the press was like slanted. And then they got their bad guy in January 6th that they could point to. Look, this is evil. These people are evil. They're all Nazis. They're all horrible, right? But then people would see these, what little leaked out, what little they allowed to leak out, looked like a bunch of people walking around with their cell phones out in the Capitol. Oh, wow, I could go behind the velvet ropes, really? And I could put my feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Wow, stuff like that. Things that I would do the same thing. And yet they were like, oh, this is horrible. It's insurrection. It's the worst thing. And then it would say stuff like, it's worse things. It's worse than 9/11. It's worse than Pearl Harbor. It's worse than anything that's ever happened in American history. And then you see Grandma said, doing her knitting in the congressional, seat there. And it's like, oh, she's horrible. She's an insurrectionist. She's awful. And it's like the only person that died that day was the little grandma that got beat down by Capitol Police, and this lady who's a veteran who got shot. And then they're lauding and putting awards on the guy that shot her. And he shot her through a door. And it's like, well, this doesn't make a lot of sense, okay? And then you also hear about this laptop thing. And it's like, oh my God, what's on this laptop? And then suddenly all the press is like, no, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. Well, wait a second. A son of a significant candidate, has all this stuff come out, and we can't talk about it. We can't talk about the fact that he has all this stuff that's connecting him to Ukraine and all this other stuff. We can't talk about it. Wait a second. And then all the people that did talk about it, got suddenly they got kicked off of Twitter. It's like, wait a second. And then suddenly people that just joked about it got kicked off of Twitter. And one of the people that got kicked off of Twitter was Babylon Bee. And Babylon Bee happened to be the favorite satire site of a man named Elon Musk. And so what happens? So Elon, who has more money than basically Scrooge McDuck money, decides, I want the free speech platform, because if we don't have free speech, we don't have anything. America, the whole entire system breaks down if we don't have free speech. Okay, and so he leveraged all his business acumen. He leveraged his funds, unlimited funds, paid for by the Tesla money, which all these stars were buying. I bought all these Teslas to look, I'm EV. Look, I'm preventing climate change, right? And so all these people bought these Teslas, and that money and some other funds from other revenue streams allowed him to buy Twitter, their little playground, their little sandbox. All the press would go to Twitter to get their stories, and they're go to the circle jerk that was Twitter at that time and get their stories. Okay, and all the everything was like curated left, like all the rest of the websites have been. And they kicked Donald Trump off while he was a sitting president. They kicked off the sitting president. Let that sink in. He was still president when they kicked him off the platform. Let that sink in. They kicked him off the platform while he was still president. They censored the president of the United States. And so Elon Musk buys Twitter, and the dam gets its first big crack. Suddenly, people from the White House had community notes on their everything they said, and there's another force pushing back. Suddenly, people are talking to one another, and it's not perfect. I'm not saying that there's not still censorship on Twitter. They still got some rats in that base. But the first thing he did is he kicked all these people out, and everybody's like, "Oh, Twitter's going to shut down. He kicked out half the people. It's going to fall apart." And yet he kicked out everybody but the engineers. And what happened? Suddenly, engineers didn't have all these baristas, breathing down their neck, and suddenly, after a few hiccups because of the lower people being there, lower amount of people being there, it's going to be an adjustment period. You have to figure out where the redundancies are and who is controlling what, and then suddenly it's humming. It's better than ever. With all these people gone, it's doing great. It's going fine. And suddenly there's a way to push back against the narrative. And suddenly the Twitter files get released. This is where Project Mockingbird comes in. The Twitter files get released, and it gets discovered that the laptop and the New York Post and everybody talking about the laptop getting censored came from the intelligence agencies. Project Mockingbird. It's still, and suddenly we have the proof. Suddenly we have the smoking gun that Project Mockingbird exists. And nobody in mainstream would cover it. Nobody would cover, mainstream media would cover it. So why is that? Around this time, actually early in the Trump presidency, I saw a video somebody put together across all of the news outlets, and they had found they had synced up all the news outlets saying the exact same thing with the exact same phraseology, and the hair on my body rose up because I'm like, holy shit, I've seen the man behind the curtain, and they're all coordinated. All of them were damn coordinated. Within minutes of each other, they're saying the exact same thing. But then we saw Twitter, and Twitter files get released, and so because we're all like up to that point, we're all like, oh, they're coordinated. I know they're coordinated. Everybody has instincts, okay? Everybody has instinct. You know when something's being manipulated. You know when you're being screwed with. You know it, okay? You know what's going on. You know there's something going on, okay? So everybody's instincts are going off. Everybody's like, holy crap, they're all saying the same things. Something's wrong here. Somebody's coordinated, this. And the stuff I'm hearing in school, the stuff that I'm hearing in college, the stuff I'm hearing on the radio, the stuff that I'm seeing in the movies, it's all coordinated somewhere, somehow. And your brain is like, this is wrong. There's something wrong here. And so many people, especially when their pop culture got taken away, Gen X was raised on the pablum of pop culture. Gen X was there when a lot of this stuff was written, okay? And it was basically, we've been comatose all this time. We've been this like an extended childhood because our parents were like left us to it, and they were raised by the television, were raised by movies, were raised by pop culture. And suddenly they took our pop culture away through ESG and all this other stuff because of Donald Trump being elected. They took our pop culture away. And suddenly Gen X is like, whoa, wait a second. What happened? Wait a second. I'm in the world now. I'm awake. They took my Star Wars. They took my Marvel comics. They took everything and ruined it and told me to go away. And so here I am. I'm awake now. And they awakened an entire generation out of their stupor, out of the comma they were in. Remember they called us the forgotten generation. They called us the quiet generation. They called us that some people would even say there was a Gen X. I've heard that. Some people denied that there even was a Gen X. And suddenly this group of people that you haven't heard from, this group of feral people, these kids that were raised with a latchkey, kids were raised, running around outside getting scars, and basically this extended childhoods all the way into adulthood, that the kids were the guys that I can tell you everything that was on Sunday morning cartoons, and probably sing you the sing you pretty much all of the opening tunes, all opening songs. I could sing you the whole entire Duke Boys song. I mean, I can hum the Incredible Hulk theme. I mean, even today, I was raised by this stuff. This is what kept me kind of like on the sidelines. And they took it. They took it and told us, "Go away. You're toxic. Go away. We don't want you." Well, and so one of those Gen Xers, by the way, is Elon Musk. He loved pop culture. He was a gamer, and he was just as into pop culture as we were. And they changed it, and so the biggest, most powerful Gen Xer of them all bought Twitter, and then suddenly we started able to compare notes. We're able to say, "Well, that sucks. Why does this suck?" Well, it sucks because of this. This is what they're putting into it. And it's like the only way you can keep a lie going is if everybody agrees on the lie. If nobody is willing to say the emperor has no clothes, that's the only way you can maintain it. And so the lie gets broken. People are starting to like compare notes. People are starting to look around, and the internet's a big part of this, but especially YouTube, because the YouTubers suddenly began like gathering prominence, and podcasters, Joe Rogan Experience. The first time I heard of Joe Rogan Experience, I was like, wow, these guys are just talking. And I'm into it. We don't talk anymore. It's nice to hear a conversation. And these guys just sitting around smoking weed, talking. And then suddenly I'm like looking for more of it. And so, this podcast, here's a podcast over here. I haven't heard from this guy. And so the news outlets started popping up. People that were kicked out of mainstream news for being too conservative suddenly started creating channels. And they're like, you want to know what's really going on? This is what's really going on. Then James O'Keefe started like doing these videos where it's like, it's in their own words. You're actually able to see these people in their own words. Actual journalism started happening. And the cracks were happening. The cracks in Project Mockingbird started happening. And they started, I mean, it really started in Obama when they were telling us Obama was great. And a lot of people were like, Obama's not great, though. He's not great. He's this arrogant punk. I don't like Obama. Well, you're not allowed to not like Obama. I'm not? Really? Seriously? Then, you got to vote for this crazy cackling monster who, had those people killed in Benghazi, and then said, what difference does it make? And it's just like, you're supposed to root for these people. They hate my guts. And they told us that they hated our guts when the ESG came in and the media started being hostile towards its own fans. 2016 Ghostbusters. I've talked about this before. It's the first time I ever saw it. The problem's not the movie. The problem is you. And so I watched the movie and I'm like, no, this movie sucks. This movie is really, really bad. It's really, genuinely, honestly bad. And they're like, nope, it's your fault. You got to consume it. And I'm like, no, I don't, though. No, I don't. And all this stuff is like snowballing. It's snowballing. It's snowballing. Okay. And then suddenly, 2020 happened. And we got to see that how much control they really had. Shut down everything. mail-in voting. And then they put the scarecrow up for president, and in the middle of the morning, the vote count went. And then we're like supposed to just walk away. Just, you're not allowed to talk about that. Wait a second. Didn't you guys talk about Trump's vote for the last 4 years? Wait a second. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to talk about it. I'm not? No, yes, I am. And then when Twitter got taken over by Elon Musk, people started talking about it. Started comparing notes. Wait a second. This ain't right. Oh, you don't think it's right either? No, I don't think it's right either. Comparing notes. This movie that came out, I don't like it. I don't like it's like hostile towards me. And there's a chick in it, that's like all the men are like bowing down to her. And she's obnoxious. I don't like this. And it's like compare notes. And then the press is like telling you this thing because they've always, they're coordinated all the way across the board. This is the reality. The emperor has clothes. Look at that beautiful suit of clothes the emperor has. He's eating ice cream and dumping, actually soiling his pants in front of the Pope. But the emperor has this beautiful suit of clothes, right? You better say so. And but he doesn't, though. But he doesn't. The guy can't talk. He can't handle a press conference. He can't walk stairs. And they're like, nope, best president in your lifetime. And then you're like, wait a second, our southern border, why did you sell off the border wall for pennies on the dollar? And why do we have all these? Why did I just see a whole band load of people who don't speak English drive by me? And they all have cards in EBT. And they're all like wearing like better clothes than I got. Why is that? Nope. Don't pay attention to it. Ignore it. There's no problem at the border. But this little lady up here, who's the first this, that, and the other thing, is telling me reading off her script the whole entire time with his robotic voice and no inflection. That no, ignore your lying eyes. Ignore your lying eyes. This is the reality. And I'm like, I'm going to the store and I can't afford eggs and milk. Why is that? Nope. There's no problem here. And then suddenly the election comes around, and the scarecrow, after a really horrible debate performance, gets switched out for this woman that nobody liked 2 seconds ago. And then they're saying, you better vote for her. She's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And everybody's like, nobody's ever voted for her. Nobody likes her. She's awful. I mean, she talks in this real weird circular manner that sounds almost like Dr. Seuss. And I'm supposed to like her? And then the celebrity endorsements started. And more celebrities than I've ever seen came out of the woodwork to tell everybody, vote for her, vote for her, vote for her. Turns out later a lot of them were paid. That's why they're $20 million in debt after raising over $1 billion. But all these celebrities started coming out. And I mean, Beyonce's going to like support her. And then Beyonce, everybody comes for a Beyonce concert. And Beyonce comes out there and says, abort your kids. Abortion's great. See you later. And here's Kamala. And everybody's like, boo, boo, boo. Meanwhile, there's this other guy who everybody supposedly hates. And by the way, they shot him. And then we're supposed to believe that this is just the one-off. This never happened. There's nothing wrong here. Move on. And the FBI bleached the roof where that kid was. And by the way, they released the body for cremation without telling anybody. And by the way, they can't get into his phone. They can get into my phone in a minute, and they can't get into his phone in months. And wait a second. There's another activist that's waiting in the bushes, waiting for hours, waiting on him to show up at a golf course, one of many that he owns. And that's a particular golf course he goes to that day. Oh, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Move on. Move along. Why does the president have a chick, standing between him and a bullet that comes up to here? Who can and what was someone hiding behind him? She can't find her gun. Oh, she's the secretary at Homeland Security that does fraud investigations. Why is she guarding the president, the presidential candidate? Oh well, the A team had to go cover the first lady having a nice little tea in Pittsburgh. Wait a second, that don't make sense. And then the lady shows up, and this is the SS director, and she's just sitting there the whole time stonewalling. Move along. Ignore it. Meanwhile, the guy stands up like a boss after getting shot and does the most American thing I've ever seen in my life. And you're not supposed to laugh. You're not supposed to support him. You're not supposed to go. And then and then he does all these rallies, and thousands of people show up. Thousands of people show up organically. But meanwhile, Miss Celebrity endorsed over here, and she's going around, and all these celebrities are like, an entire Avengers cast shows up. Oh, vote for Kamala. Vote for Kamala. I like those guys. I wanted to see that movie. I wanted to see the next Avengers movie, and now I'm like, I don't know if I want to see the movie now. But we're supposed to vote for this. Eggs are $6. What? Eggs and by the way, there's medicine shortages because it all comes from China now. Didn't we have this problem during COVID? What? And we're supposed to believe this guy's bad, and this is this cackling chick over here who I can't stand to listen to for 5 seconds before she makes me want to put a fist through a wall. That's who you're supposed to vote for. All this has worked. For generations, this has all worked. Motor voter back during the Clinton administration. Clinton going on Arsenio Hall and playing the saxophone. Look how cool he is. And he's telling teenagers when they ask him boxers and briefs, he's answering them. And we're not, wait a second, that's a little creepy. What? That's an inappropriate question. Why is he answering that question? And he got a Hummer in the Oval Office. How do we know? Because he has a dress with his all over it in the Oval Office. No, that's okay. No, don't pay attention to your lying eyes. And by the way, his best buddy, the guy who he jet sets all over the world with, the guy who has his picture of him on the wall in a blue dress, suddenly turns out to be the biggest, sex trafficker in maybe in world history. And by the way, gets murdered in the most secure lockup in Manhattan. Maybe in the most secure lockup, possible. And the cameras all went out. Don't worry about it. Don't pay attention. And they got a body count, but don't pay attention to it, right? All this, and your brain is telling you what I'm seeing is different from what they're telling me. And Project Mockingbird has worked all this time because we all believed it. Charles Corrupt, the newscasters, the Jennings, the Brokaw or whatever, and Dan Rather, all these people are like these serious people are telling us what the news is, right? And then then later on, it's like nobody's like comparing notes because we trust them, right? We trust them. And all this is coming to a head. And the last few years, because we had Twitter, and we're able to go, wait a second, put a community note on it. You know, the other day, Barbara Streisand says, "I have no words," and there's a community note that says, "This is indeed actually words." You know, if you have no words, these are words, right? It's like suddenly it was like, let me check the community note on this one. Oh, okay, that's bullshit. Okay, here's an actual reference. And we're able to fact check real time. And suddenly we're all looking around at each other. And you're like, I like Donald Trump. Do you like Donald Trump? I like Donald Trump. And then people are actually saying that openly. Well, I support President Trump. And it's like it started breaking, and all of Hollywood is spasming and saying, no, vote for her, vote for her, vote for her. And they're living in mansions. I mean, I remember in COVID, we're all in lockdown, and they're telling us to stay in lockdown to save your grandma. And then all these stars are like in their mansions, and like I think it was Madonna was like in the milk bath with rose petals, complaining about being locked up or something like that. And then you got, you know, people like Patton Oswalt telling people like, you want to murder grandma because you want to go to Fuddruckers, you know, or something like that. And it's like, dude, you probably have a catered chef. So why the hell are you telling me that I should stay locked up? I don't have a mansion here, right? And the divide started happening. The divide just wider and wider and wider. And then suddenly they're telling this chick we got to vote for. All the press is saying that we need to vote for her. And all the pollsters came out and said, oh, it's close. It's really, really close. You know, it could go either way. And it's like, but is it though? She's having to like fake a Beyonce concert to get people to a rally. This guy announces a rally in 2 days, and he gets 33,000 people show up. 1 + 1 is equaling like 6. Where's that? There's a disparity here. And suddenly, just like in 2016, after the gaslighting of the Obama administration, we rebelled against that. And in 2020, you know, the middle of the night, the vote dump in the middle of the night. This time we're like, we are going to vote so overwhelmingly for this guy that they can't steal it. And that's what happened. And now they're all sitting here like freaking out. All these stars, all these press, they're sitting here like the whole country's racist now. Hispanic men are misogynist and racist. What the heck? You know, and black men are like starting to vote for Trump. What the heck's wrong with black men? Are they racist too? And the gaslighting, it's not working. And we're in a new era. We're in a new era. And we probably, not in my lifetime. I don't know what to expect. All I know is everything, the paradigm that we've been living with my entire life is gone. The pattern or the reality that I've been existing in my whole entire existence as a Gen Xer, all my pop culture is gone. It's ruined. All my stars, the stars that I looked up to, just came out and showed their ass. So I there's nobody to look up to anymore. And all the press just can't be trusted almost uniformly across the board. So I look online. I see people like me getting a mic and sitting down and talking to other people like me from their bedrooms to the back bedroom, in my case. And it's a new era. You know, we're the press now. We're the entertainment now. We're the mainstream. We are the mainstream. Joe Rogan did an interview with Donald Trump for 3 hours, and it had more views than all the mainstream media put together. What's next? What's next? Something new. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know what the reality is going to be. There's no frame of reference. You know, we've been under the sway of propaganda since the turn of the century, turn of the previous century. I mean, what's next? That's what the show's been about. But I honestly don't know. All I know is it's all wide open. It's all wide open. Next few years, the brand new IPs that we to follow. I mean, there's so much cool stuff coming out right now. I've got a stack of books over here. All of them awesome. From people that I'm able to talk to, have relationships with, and I can back them. I can make their dreams come true, and I'm working on my own. And it's right now times are like a little tight, but we just have somebody that he's about to head into office, and he's talking about gutting the whole entire system of government. What's next? I don't know. I'm both circumspect and excited and worried because this is the Oregon Trail, folks. We're heading into new territory here. This is Lewis and Clark. This is and well, I mean, the video game Oregon Trail, you didn't make it past the Colorado River before you got dysentery. At least I never did. Hopefully there's a different outcome. But I don't know where we're headed here. I would be lying if I said that I had any idea, because I don't have any idea. Everything that was is changing right before our eyes. The ground under our feet is shifted. Suddenly, when people say crazy shit, and your brain is going like, that doesn't sound right. My eyes are telling me something different. Now we have people saying, my eyes are telling me the same thing. Maybe we should trust their eyes. That's new. And people are having these long conversations on podcasts, with people. Used to be a soundbite, a curated soundbite. We had a candidate that basically couldn't talk unless you had a teleprompter in front of her. Then we had this other candidate that could do a 3-hour conversation and riff about everything. This is the old style candidate, built by the press, curated by the soundbite, and she got trounced. Even in deep blue states, she got trounced. Even though they went blue, as always, if you look at the shifts, there's massive shifts. Massive shifts. If there wasn't so much voter fraud, we might have seen some of them flip blue or flip red this last election. So we're about to see a whole entire realignment of government. All this bureaucracy is about to be eliminated, and that's going to be new. That the ESG destroyed and burned the mainstream to the ground, and all these independent voices are rising up to take the place. It's a new era. I don't know where we're going to wind up, but I know it's going to be different. And I'm there for it, whether I want to be or not. Well, 35 eyeballs. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out for me a little while. Listen to me ramble and get all this out of my brain. And I will see you guys next time. And we'll see you in the future, whatever form that's going to take. But whatever it's going to be, it's going to be new. That's all I can say. See you there. Follow the white rabbit. Bye, everybody.